Welcome to this video. In this video, we'll be looking at creating a simple graphical user interface in Java using NetBeans. The goal of this will be to make use of graphical components in Swing, such as JLabels, JButtons, and to be able to link that to a data structure that's holding, in this situation, an array, a data structure holding some questions and answers. Make the buttons interactive, so when they click on them, they do something, and introduce elements such as making icons or images appear or disappear. And the scenario we're going to be using for this is making a quiz. A very straightforward quiz where you have a question, 4 possible answers with buttons on. You select the button, it increases your score, or if you fail to get the answer right, you decrease the score and you move onwards. And so to do this, we will first start off by going File and then New Project. We want Java and Java Application. We'll go next. Now, typically you'll have this bit selected, Create a Main Class, because that will do is it will create a class. Within that class, there'll be the subroutine, public static void main. And essentially what this means, it's an opportunity to have a starting position for your code, somewhere to start from. Because we're using a JFrame, we don't need this class anymore because the JFrame will create that jumping off point. So we can deselect that. I'm going to give it a name, something simple like quiz. And I'll go finish. And what that will be doing in the background, it's creating this data structure here, which is now holding all that information. But now what I want to do is create a new file. And the new file is going to be our JFrame form. The library is called Swing. There are other ones like AWT for graphical components. Swing is the one we're going to be using for today, and we'll be using the JFrame form. And so what that's going to do is going to create the JFrame, which is this, which is the container that's going to allow us to be able to put other graphical elements into. And we'll go next. The name, I suppose it's we could call it New Quiz, I suppose. Normal naming conventions apply. Please do not use spaces, either camel case or some people do lowercase. Myself, I'm always a camel case kind of programmer. And we'll go finish. And what we'll see here is this is the JFrame in existence. We could run this, and what we'd see is a simple JFrame here. But what we want to do is to be able to put some graphical elements into here. So I'm going to go on the right hand side here, and hopefully you see these different elements like label and combo box. These are graphical user interface elements that you can drag on. And the first one we'll drag on is this thing called a panel. Now, panel in of itself doesn't really do much, but it does allow us to more safely organize and arrange other things, i.e. this is a subcontainer from JFrame, so that we can put elements inside here, and we'll put something called a label. And as you can see, this is now existing inside the panel, and the label is what we're going to use for the question. And I might tweak it a little bit because over here, the properties, I'm going to change it from size 11, maybe make that slightly larger so people to see 14. I'm not going to put the question in right now, because the questions for our quiz, which is what this is going to be, that's going to come from this array that we're going to create later. And along with it, I need to create some buttons. So the OK button over here, we can drag on. Button 1. And let's have 4 buttons for this. Let's have a multiple choice element. Button 1, button 2, button 3, and then button 4. And as you can see, it's trying to help me by suggesting or trying to align it to the other elements in here. So that's really quite neat. Now, what's very handy about NetBeans is that this is kind of like a WYSIWYG editor, because you can see there's this tab here that says design that allows me to see the visual representation of this form. But in the background, if I click on source, this is the class that's actually representing, or this is the one that's doing all the definitions, creating all these elements. And it doesn't look like it's that populated. Well, it's because in here, where it says generated code, in fact, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, make it easier to see. See under generated code, that's a little fold. And if we open it, these are all the buttons being created. And this is when the text has been set inside it. And this code here is essentially saying, where does it fit in? Where does it go? How do we arrange it next to the other components? When I first started to program in Java, I had to manually type all those in. I'm going to be honest with you, it was kind of a pain. So count yourself lucky that this time we can literally just have a design where you can drop these components in and it can essentially create the Java code for you, or the code to generate the elements there for you. Now, at the moment, it's static. It doesn't do much. The next thing we're going to do is looking at connecting it to a data structure. Okay. In fact, why don't we see what that looks like? If we press the play button at the beginning, it's going to launch a new window. And this will show us our buttons. Now you can see they're labeled the same as we could see here, J button 1 and J button 2. And J level is the name of this thing here. Well, they're not doing anything right now. I can click on the button, they have no interactivity. The first thing we want to do is to be able to have our code store some values that we're going to be able to use to set the names of all these things here. So that's what we're going to do now. And to be able to do that, we need to go into the source. So here we go. At the top, you can see that there's this thing here. This is a constructor for this new quiz, and it runs init components, which do all these things in here. I want to be able to store some values that I'm going to use for these. So I think, why don't we just say something like, in fact, do you know what? I'm going to make life very easy on myself. I'm going to use global variables. Now, actually, global variables generally are not a good idea because they make the code, subroutines are harder to move from one place to another. Local variables is definitely the way to go, and then passing it by parameters. But because we really want to demonstrate the use of the GUI here and linking it to a data structure, I don't want to get caught in the weeds about how I'm passing that data around. So in this case, I'm going to use a data structure. And let's use a straightforward data structure. Again, I could use a class and create objects, but I'm going to use an array. And let's remember what we want here. What we want is questions. We want some answers of text to be able to put on top of those buttons. And also we need to be able to store what the right answer is so that we can, when we click on the button, check against it. So let's use a string data structure. And we could call it quiz, and it's a new string, and let's say we're going to have 10 questions. Now, again, I'm not just storing one thing. I want to store, well, let's count them. I want to be able to store the question, the text for the question, so that's one. All 4 buttons need their own text, they're up to 5, and we need to store the answer. So do you know what? I'm not going to use it. I could create 6 separate one-dimensional arrays to be able to store this data. I think we're in a much better position to have one 2-dimensional array, 10 lots, but in each one there's 6 different items. Remember, a 2-dimensional array, you can imagine a bit like a table, 10 by 6. And we've initialized it here as a global array, meaning it's going to be visible throughout this class. Now, we wanted to set some values, so I think I'm going to have a subroutine just set up for that. So public, it's going to be a procedure. I'm not going to be returning values for it. I'm just going to call it to be able to set these values. Obviously, again, it would be better if I was reading this from a text file or something, but let's keep things simple for the moment. So maybe init data, so initializing data. I'm not setting a subroutine. I'm just going to call it to make it happen. And then we've got quiz at 0, and that question and 0, 0. So this will be the first one, which will be just the question. So maybe I say something like, what is the capital of the UK? Yeah, really tricky question. Quiz, and again at 0, and then at 1. Now these are where I'm going to store the text that I'm going to use as labels for each of those text buttons. So on the text button, it'll actually say the name. So I guess we have to think that the answers have to be kind of short and to the point. I guess what I could have done is just said A, B, C, D, but in this case, names of cities is going to work out quite well for us. So I'm going to say Bristol. And let me be a little bit lazy and do this going on. So we've got at the second one, should we say Paris? And then we'll put in London. If you knew it was London, well done. And then finally, I don't know, Bath. So that's the text. So we've got the text for each of those buttons, and we've got the text that we're going to use as for our question. What are we missing? We need to actually store the answer. And I know it might seem obvious to you that it's London, but of course we need to tell the computer what the answer is. Computer doesn't do what we want it to do, it does what we tell it to do. So we have to tell it what the answer is. So in this case, let's make it in the same row, but we'll have of this array. But in the last item 5, we're going to put the answer, which is, well, we'll say that that's button 1, that's button 2, button 3, button 4. So in this one, it will be 3 will be the answer. Okay, well, we've set these values. So shall we see if that's changed our design? It has absolutely not changed our design. What we're doing so far is we're holding the data here in this data structure, but it's not doing anything. So do you know what we need to do? We need to have another subroutine, in my opinion, to update the GUI with these values. So again, we're not going to be returning anything. So, and let's just call it update. We don't need to send it anything as a parameter value. We're just telling it update, take the values from this array, change the text that are on the text buttons, change the JLabels text to whatever the question is going to be. So now we need to get the names for these things. So this one, you can see it comes default with it as JLabel1, but I could change that to something else like, hi there. And then you're like, oh, well, what's the name of that button? Well, if I click, or in this case, JLabel, if I click on it, do you see down here? I'm not sure how small that is for you. It says JLabel1, JLabel properties. And so that's what I can use to, find the name of it. So its name is JLabel1. So it's identifier, I should say. So JLabel1, and if I go dot, it opens up a bunch of commands for us. The command we want to use is set text, and we want it to set something quite specific. We want to get this one here. So we'll say set quiz at position 0, and at position 0, done. Now I have to do all the rest of the buttons. And I believe you just have to take my word from it. It's J button 1, J button 2, 3, and 4. If you've created a button and then deleted it, of course, it might be in a different order. So you do have to see here, again, you can check. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will do that quickly. Oh, be careful of the case sensitive. It's the capital, it's camel case, so it's capital B for the button. Set text. Again, that's not from anywhere. It's from the quiz. At position 0 and at 1. So we'll be taking Bristol in this case. And then I'm going to be a little bit lazy. Let's just do 2 at a time. So J button 2 now. And we'll take that from position 2. In fact, I'm going to be a bit lazy. Be careful copying and pasting, by the way. I mean, I do it all the time, so I'm not going to lecture. But of course, if you get it wrong, you'll get this error. You might take you a while to think, what did I do wrong here? And it might be that you just forgot to change the identifier. Or in this case, maybe I forgot to change where I was reading it from in terms of the data structure. Who knows? And hopefully fingers crossed, I've not made an error. So let's run it and let's see what happens. And disappointingly, still nothing has happened. Well, that's actually for a quite straightforward reason. These are methods, subroutines that need to be triggered, need to be actioned. And we have not done that. So let's do this. Oh, let me make a little bit of an error. And then you tell me what the error was. So I'm going to call update. Remember, new quiz is the constructor. So everything in here will get called as the JFrame is initialized. So all these things will happen. And then init data. Can you see the boo-boo I have done? Okay, well, here's the boo-boo. It's about sequence. I've told it to update the values based on what's inside quiz, and then I've given the values. So that is not going to work very well for us. So we need to do that the other way around. Sequence, absolutely critical. We do need to do things in order, and if you don't, you'll get errors. And hopefully we haven't got errors here. So if we run it, in theory, we should get this. And we say, what is the, oh, the ... I'll tell you what's happened there. I need to stretch my J level. So there we go. Let's stretch it out. Fingers crossed that fixed it. And let's run it again. There we go. What is the capital of the UK? Well, I'm going to get it wrong and click Bristol and see what happens. Nothing. Click it right, London, nothing. Again, we're making this work. You are doing the stuff in the background, the functionality to make this work. It's not doing it of its own. So I think the next thing we're going to be looking at is making it so that when we click on a button, it actually has a response. Yes, no, etc. Okay, so now we have a graphical user interface that has, for this quiz, a question, but when we click on the buttons, they don't do anything. It's worth taking a moment to think, okay, we're doing the stuff behind the curtain. So we have to think, what are the sequence of events we want to happen? So when I click on Bristol, and it's the wrong answer, maybe I don't get a score. Maybe there's an image representing I don't get that score. It should go into the next question. So I need to have some way of keeping track of what question I'm on right now. If I click on London, maybe I should increase my score, but I don't have anything to keep track of a score right now. And it should go on to the next question. So I'll be able to keep track of what question's on right now. So we're going to need a couple of, before we start making these things active, we need to do a little bit of work in the background. So we're back in our quiz here. The convention is you either declare all of your variables at the top or the bottom, but you declare them in the same place. And I'm going to be a bit lazy again. I'm going to use a global variable. So I want to keep track of what question I'm on. So int question, you might think I'll initialize that as 1, but actually if I initialize that as 0, that's going to give me a really helpful little tool to use, because here you can see I can actually refer to, instead of quiz at position 0 and 0, I can say quiz at position question. So it would be 0 first time, but then it would be 1, and then looking at 0 and 1 and 2. Maybe that'll become clearer in a second. And score, of course, well, we need score to stay as 0 for this point, because obviously it starts at 0. To be able to do this, I think maybe we certainly want a second question. So I'm going to, again, being careful, I'm going to copy that stuff out, and I'm going to have a second question. My second question will be, gosh, I was going to ask, where is the 2020 Olympics going to be held? Close one. How about, what is the symbol? What is the symbol of Wales? Okay, what's the national symbol of Wales? And you could say, what is the, let's see, what is the animal? Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm not being very decisive here. What is the animal of Scotland? So what's the national animal? What's the national animal of Scotland? So for France, it's a cockerel, and it's something quite cool for Scotland. So we say it's a bear, and the truthful one, which is unicorn. How cool is that? And maybe we have another one like a cat. And, a confusing one, dragon. Let's see what's going on there. And the correct answer, because it's question 2, we want to change that to 2. Now, do you remember I talked earlier on in the video about being very careful about copying and pasting? Obviously, I need to change something else here. Do you see what else I need to change? Right. If I do this, it's just going to overwrite what I did before. I need to change all these to 1 because I'm changing the next one across in the array. So, and if you miss one out, you're going to get a problem. So now we've got a second question in here. And obviously, if we want to add additional questions, we can just keep adding questions, one after another down here. We've got those questions. Great. I'm saying when we first start it, instead of saying update based on position 0, I'm going to change all that to question. And question initializes at 0, so the first time around it will make no difference whatsoever. However, as time goes on and question then becomes 1, you see it's going to allow us to quite easily update it with the new values, which are now these ones here, i.e. the next question. What else do we need to do? Right, now we're at the point where we can have some interactivity so that when we click on the button, something happens. So let's go into design. To have interactivity, here's what we do. Click on that J button 1, right click, then go to events, action, and then action performed. Selecting that is going to generate its own subroutine, essentially like a trigger that will tell you what has to happen next, or you decide what has to happen next when it happens. So I click on it, J button 1, you see, and now this is saying what happens when you press on button 1. Well, button 1 I'm saying is linked to the text from item 1, so J button 1. So I should say if this has been clicked, and if the quiz at position question at item, at item 1, let's scroll up what I mean by that, i.e., let's fold that, we don't need to see this, i.e. if it's Bristol for the first question or Bear, then you've got it correct. So if that's the same as what? Well, if that's the same as this one here. So we're saying what's happening here. In fact, we don't want Bristol, do we? We just want to know what the answer was. Is it the same as 1? Does that say 1? So it's not 1, it's 5. Is that the same as 1? Because it's button 1. And if it is the same as 1, what should happen? Oh, he's got it right. I mean, he hasn't got it right because both these questions are either 3 or 2. But if he has got it right, we should add 1 to score. So score plus plus. What else should happen? Right. Outside of here, whether you get it right or get it wrong, you should go on to the next question. So question plus plus. So now so question's gone from 0 to 1, or from 1 to 2, or wherever you are. And then you tell it to update. So you call this function up here to update, and it's going to label all the questions with the things in there. And then, gosh, we need to do that for all of them. So we're going to go J button 2. Let's do it in order. I think it'll make life easier. So events, action, action performed. So same deal as before. Do you know, I'm going to be a bit lazy. Be very careful when you do this. If you copy it in the wrong place, you're going to be into a whole world of hurt. So question 5, but now I'm saying, is it equal to 2? Because I've clicked on the second button and I'm saying, is it 2? And if it's right, you get score. If not, you go update. And then I need to do it for the next one along. I need to J button 3. So I'm going to go to events, action, action performed. So same as before, but I'm doing it in order. And I'm going to copy and paste. And this time, I'm going to say that it's 3. And then let's do the final one. And fingers crossed, I've not made any mistakes here. Right click, events, action, action performed. Last one here. I'm going to paste that one in again, but this time I'm saying, is it 4? It's always wise not to go too deep before you run it again, because then if you've made a mistake, it's easier to backtrack to where you were before. So I'm going to run it now, and let's see what happens. So what is the capital of the UK? Well, if I'm correct, it should be London. So let's click London. Oh, well, of course, maybe score did go up by 1, but we're not showing that right now. So we need to put that on here. So I'm going to close this, go back to design. Let's have another J label. Maybe let's have down here somewhere, let's have a score. Oops, let's change that. So this is not the bit that's going to change. I think we just have something that says score. And maybe make it a little bit bigger. So maybe it's going to be 14 again. And then we need to have, so that's JLabel2. So I'm going to say just the word score. And that's quite static, actually. I'm not going to change that, but then I need another JLabel. This is the one that's going to change in response to what the current score is going to be. So on here, let's change the formatting so it's also size 14 and maybe in bold to make it sort of stand out a little bit. Right, there we go. Now, if I want it to change, oh, what was it again? It was JLabel3. That was the identifier, and we're going to need that. If we're going it to change, I'm not going to change it in here. Now, what was the subroutine we wrote to update the graphics? Right, update. So I'm going to put it in here because update gets called every single time we get right or wrong, or even when we initialize it the first time. So I'm going to say JLabel3.setText and score, what the current score is. Now, I don't think that's going to be happy with us. And the reason is because we're setting text, i.e. it wants the data type of string, and we are sending it an int. In fact, it's going to say it here. I got a lazy way of fixing that for us. Remember in Java, if you have a string and you add something to a string, it converts it. I must say I've used this quite a bit. Should we see if that's worked? Remember my tip earlier, don't go too far. See if this bit works, see how far we go. Well, it seems to have initialized correctly, score 0. If I click on Bristol, score hasn't changed. So to test, oh, let's see if I can test it now. So if I go on to Unicorn, it went up and it went flat and disappeared because now it's looking in the third part of the array. And if you remember, we have not given it that. So that's not going to work successfully. And there we are. We got the next step. Now, actually, at this stage, you could pause, me, and then you could have a look at adding in under init data some additional questions, and then making sure you got the rest of this working. And actually, at this point, really, this is just a data structure. You could keep adding to it. The way we've structured it with the update and this question and score means that it should just grow dynamically with the rest of it. So please feel free to do that. The next thing I'm going to look at is maybe a little graphic, a little thumbs up if you got it right, or yes, you're correct, thumbs down if you got it wrong. Okay, so we're in this final stages, trying to do a little bit of finishing touches, because what often you want to do is add some kind of graphical element to it. As a recap, remember we got to the point where the thing plays, i.e. it reads the information from the data structure, updates the label, updates the text. If I get the question correct, I hit London, I gain a score. If I get the wrong one, I mean, nothing happened, it goes down. And what I'm saying for this final bit is maybe if I had a little graphic here, like I say, thumbs up if I got it right, thumbs down if I got it wrong, and we can look at how we do that. So the way we do a graphic is, first of all, we just take a JLabel. And that JLabel will then be replaced by that graphic. So currently, obviously it says the word JLabel. If you go on the right, it says the word icon. I apologize if that's a bit small for you to see, but it says the word icon and then ... If I click on that, it opens this up. Now, probably it'd be better, and I haven't done this because I was anticipating that maybe you haven't done this, is that in your NetBeans folder, in your documents, NetBeans projects, you go to the subfolder for this. In that case, for me, it'd be quiz, and then you can drop it into this folder structure ready to pick up. I haven't done that. I've got it externally. So what I want to do is import that. And if I don't import it properly, that means if I give it to somebody else, they'll lose the track of that image because it'll be in my document somewhere. So I'll click on import to project, go find it. Now for me, I've got it in a folder called work, which is on my C drive. Oh, in fact, I was going to demonstrate something that can go a little bit problematic here. So let's say thumbs up and click next. It's going to then import it to our source package. Great. And then click OK. Now, that is too large. Let's make it smaller and then see what it looks like. Oh. Now, NetBeans, there are actually functions you can use to resize graphics. There's libraries you can use to do it. But I'm going to be honest with you. The easiest way to get a new graphic, a new size, load it into something like Photoshop or any photo editing software I'm sure will do, change the image there and then resave it. Often, let's say you want a graphic for an RPG to show what it looks like, you want it very specific size. Yeah, the way you achieve that is by saving it at that particular size. So in here, I'm going to go back to icon, and I'm going to get import to project. And you see I've made a smaller version, so thumbs up small. Next, yes, I want to put it in there. Oh, this thumbs down. My apologies. Click OK. Aha. And now I've got a much more manageably sized one. In fact, I can reduce all that down all the way, can't I, really? There we go. And so we can say that if we got it right or wrong, maybe I can even put it next to it inside the panel. How about like that? Yeah, it looks wrong. I don't know the right place to put it. You put it in the place that looks right to you. Great. So now if I run it, we've got this thing, and when I play it, if I get the answer wrong, it's going to be there, and if I get it right, nothing's going to happen whatsoever. We need to make that change, that graphic change. So before I get to that point, you know what I'm going to do is that I'm going to I'm going to show you like a kind of cheat to win way of getting the code for that. So go into source. This was JLabel 4. All right, remember we need the identifier name. Go into source, and if under the generated code, what you'll find down here somewhere is it says JLabel 4 set icon new Java swing blah 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 blah, and that is the code there to change the icon to that, to JLabel, to the thumbs down. Do you see right at the end? Oh, I probably went over that a bit quick, actually. My apologies. It says thumbs down small. That and the slash meaning that it's in the local folder. Boom, it's there, and that's how you can update it. So in here, I can say, for instance, if we get a question wrong, right? We can put it in here. Now, I haven't got a thing for a question wrong. I've got a question right. So maybe we should do that first, and then let's talk about how we're going to fix it. So let's change, let's do both at the same time. Sorry for being indecisive. So we're saying if we get it correct, the score goes up by 1. And then, of course, else, we can say, change it to thumbs down small, right? And that'll mean it will change the graphic to that one there. Now, do I just need to do that on one button? Nope. Each of them needs to change. So I have to go else, and I put it in there. And somehow I missed out even the first one up here. So be careful. Fingers crossed I don't make any other silly mistakes. And then, of course, button 4, else, and then it goes in there. Now, that's half the story. What I need to do is do the other button, and the other button, the other graphic, not the other button. It's all on the same JLabel. My apologies. The other graphic I've not even imported. So let's just do that now. Click on the button again, import to project, and I forgot thumbs down, I've got thumbs up. Please say I've saved this the right way around. Finish. There we go. Phew. And then OK. And again, you can use the same. In fact, do you know what? It's called thumbs up underscore small. If I wanted to, I could just take this and go and change that to down, that to up, and then that will be the right graphic. But let's do the same as we did before. Let's go to JLabel 4. See, here it is. Thumbs up small. We'll steal that little bit of code there, and we'll say here that every time we got it right, it's that way around. So we can say, yep. So we got it right. We add the score, and then we change the thing to thumbs up for being correct. We need to do that for each of them. And then finally for this one here. Okay. Moment of truth. Let's run it. Of course, you might, at the moment, it starts with a thumbs up. So you can do things like hide and show, and maybe that would be appropriate to do. So let's get it wrong to see if it changes. Let's change it to Bristol. Boom, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's get it right by clicking on unicorn. Boom, thumbs up. Understand that now that you can do those graphics, you can import graphics for almost anything. You could have a question, and the question could actually have a graphic associated with it that you need to answer. You could have it so that when the score goes over a certain amount, or you get a certain number, there's like a smiley face or something. There's a lot you can do. Right now, you have the tools yes, we made this quiz, but understand this quiz, you could have some buttons at the bottom, choices. It could be like, one of those flick RPG type games, some kind of image. Do you want to go left? Do you want to go right? Clicking on it could open up the new one. Truthfully, the options open to you right now are huge. Now, it would work better, in my opinion, if we connected to object orientation, but for the moment, there's a lot of scope for you to play around with this. So enjoy.